Now it's time to welcome our next guest and a very close friend to yours truly, Dee Carter, president of Carter Financial Group in Midland, Texas. He has more than 45 years of experience helping people plan their retirement. Dee, great to have you back. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's good to be with you again, David.
So, Midland, Texas. You don't have to worry about budgets there, right? Because everyone's got so much oil money, right? They're just lathering up in it that money's no object, correct?
Absolutely not. One of the biggest things I find is the more money you have, the more budgeting you need because you end up spending it on frivolous things. So most of my clients, and I don't have a lot of clients that are in that category, but most of them that do have large amounts of income, they'll come in here and tell me how much their net worth is, and I'll tell them right away that's totally no meaningful number there. So we still budget. Even though you've got a lot of money, you should need to think of the big picture and how your money should be spent in retirement. No question about it.
So you live in an area, I'm sure like Southern Florida here. You've come to visit me a bunch of times. I've come to visit you. Where in Southern Florida, you get a lot of people that are getting by, they're doing okay, but then you go out to a restaurant and you see all the $300,000-$400,000 vehicles, the people who have a ton of money. And with some of the oil money in Texas, I bet that's the same. So how do you get people to control their budget when the person having dinner right next to them is worth just millions?
One of the things we try to do, David, is to make sure they understand the difference between making the money and spending the money in retirement. Boy, there's a world of difference between growth and protection and then income as they go down the road. So the first thing we try to do is convert them from that idea of how much they've made, how much they've got, and how much they're making, but to how much they're going to spend in retirement. And sometimes those numbers are quite unrealistic, and we have to kind of tone them down and bring them to where they really need to be.
Yeah. And you got to be careful of people who have the tendency to keep up with the Joneses. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, as you well know, from 45 years of experience as a financial advisor. Dee, we need to take a commercial break. We'll be right back in a minute. And you stay with us too. We'll be right back here with more on the Income Generation. And welcome back. We're talking with Dee Carter, president of the Carter Financial Group in Midland, Texas. And as I said before, one of my closest friends in the whole world. Dee, thanks for sticking around.
I'm glad to be here, David.
So you probably experienced what I do, and you heard me ask Chris Hogan this, but in your own words, why do you feel as though people tend to resist creating a budget? What are the mental, psychological roadblocks that people have, and how can we overcome those?
Really, one of the biggest problems they have is they think they're bulletproof. They really feel like they're going to live forever. They're going to have a job. They're going to have someplace to go, something to do all the time. They really don't ever stop to think that things do change. And what they do, they need the takeaways in budgeting and retirement is they need to understand where they're coming from, what they've got, and where they're going to go. And most of them don't ever do that. Even the young people that we have coming here, I have sat down and set up budgets with young people, with middle-aged people, and with older people, and nothing changes a lot except in one case it's where you're trying to make it, the other case is how you're trying to spend it. But whatever the size of your nest egg, retirement's gonna mean changes in your financial future in your life, regardless of where you are. So the first thing is to try to convince them of that. And most people take convincing. They really don't believe that.
So the first step is to just realize, look, someday you're going to retire, you're going to have to retire, you're going to want to retire, and there's going to be some adjustments. But how about for the person who's done well enough where they can retire at pretty much the same lifestyle they had when they were working, who doesn't really need to pull back at all? How about for that person? What do you find sometimes are their roadblocks, and what can you do to motivate that person to try to stick to a budget? Because you know that, as Chris Hogan said, more time on your hands in retirement means every day is like a Saturday, and you end up tending to spend more money.
I think the main thing, Dave, there is to get them to focus on the big picture. Think of what they're going to be doing. Focus on the categories that they're spending money on. Everybody wants to travel, but you need to sit down and focus on that. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do when you get there? You need to talk about health care. I have to convince my clients, and some of them are pretty hard to convince, that they're going to spend, if they're 65 years old as a couple, they're probably going to spend $275,000 before they pass on health care alone. They don't believe that, so you have to show them facts and big pictures. They need to know about, things like entertainment, things about, are you going to give money away to charities during your retirement? But then you got to get specific with them, and that's the most difficult thing. Get them organized, get the details of what they're spending and how they're spending it. I even give some of my younger clients a book and say, fill this out every day. Put down everything that you spend for a week, and then let's talk about your budget. You're going to see better about where you're going to go when you get older. And even to my older clients, do you eat out more? Are you eating out 4 and 5 times a week like sometimes we do? And all these things come into the picture, but most of them don't ever realize it until you sit down.
I heard you tell people before in your office, Dee, 6 months before you retire, the last 6 months, write down every penny you spent, track it, and create a budget off that. We need to leave it there for today. Dee, thanks so much.
You bet.
We'll be right back in a minute. Stay with us here on The Income Generation.